Appendix 1, Generative Aligned Action Theory. 8.1, Health, Alignment, and Engagement. There is a growing body of literature that explores the links between four dimensions, planes, spheres as necessary to healthy living: spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. The figure below illustrates these and their relationship to the supporting components, the currency that is being assessed in that dimension, positive habits, and negative deterrents. In this model, these four planes need to be aligned with one another to be healthy. Consider how emotionally damaged someone with a pacifist spirituality would be when conscripted and forced to fight in the front lines of a war. This is an extreme example, but the result is an extreme amount of stress to the point where this person will, in all likelihood, become emotionally scarred and dysfunctional. If untreated or not processed, the body then starts to keep score of this trauma and physical health will suffer. It is also worth noting that post-traumatic growth is possible, and that when processed appropriately, some traumatic events can lead to higher levels of functioning and even flourishing. Figure 9, Four Dimensions of Well-Being. As a leader, our organization's success requires that we screen people into the team that are aligned on these four planes. The analogous four planes in an organization are values, vision, mission, planned action. Similar to the personal requirements for health, these four planes need to be in alignment with each other to create a healthy organization. Decision-making grounded in the organization's values ensures consistency and coherence. A detailed vision of the desired future state that is consistent with mission and values provides the North Star necessary for the team to navigate the path to that vision. Leaders must relentlessly focus on the mission to maintain the focus of the team and avoid falling into the mission creep trap. Infrastructure is developed and planned. Actions are taken that will accomplish the mission, achieve the vision, and align with and reinforce the values. An example of an organization out of balance might be a military unit that is charged with a peacekeeping mission, and while there, some of the commanding officers begin to engage in some criminal enterprise that then sees them ordering their subordinates to abuse locals. This will have an incredibly corrosive effect on the level of engagement of the soldiers. Even if they do not know explicitly of the corruption at play, it will be sensed through the issuance of instructions that are not consistent with the stated mission and vision. In extreme cases, this will lead to potentially heinous actions being taken that will result in traumatization of the local population, ostensibly being protected, and of the soldiers as well. This will then have devastating ripple effects in the theater of action and when those soldiers return home to their families and communities. While the ramifications may not be as stark in civilian organizations, the potential for these ripples going out is the same. Leadership matters. A key component to organizational success is employee engagement. This engagement is largely driven by the following vertical and horizontal alignment. Figure 10, Personal and Organizational Alignment. 8.2, Development of Competency and Mutual Respect. We now turn to building competency. Another way of looking at a result is as a form of raw data. Raw data is the foundational ingredient to the progression of data, information, knowledge, wisdom. The table below incorporates some of the thought of Milan Zeleny. Table 4, Data, Information, Knowledge, Wisdom Map to Knowing Type. Some have inserted intelligence or understanding in between wisdom and knowledge and added enlightenment above wisdom. The author, being a simple engineer, understands that a particular model may be good enough, providing valuable, actionable insights, and that at the same time, reality is much more nuanced and complex than a particular model. This is the case in the above, and for the purposes here, lumping the granularity above knowledge into wisdom is adequate. This is not to understate the importance of gaining wisdom and enlightenment, which are foundationally important. How the progression occurs and what it means are equally important. Data on its own is useless. Only through analysis does the data become information that has some meaning. Upon assembly, that information may be integrated to form models and create the knowledge of how to do things. The first step simply requires processing power, IQ, and work. What comes next is fully relying on perseverance, humility, and emotional intelligence. When the data is a failure of some kind, humility is needed in order to objectively realize one's contribution to that failure so that the data is not false data, resulting in a garbage in, garbage out phenomena that engineers are all too familiar with in design practice. Emotional intelligence is needed to be able to process this, and perseverance to continue to get back up again after a failure. Throughout synthesis of information into knowledge, these three key characteristics will be needed to develop knowledge. When the data is a success, the same apply. The line from Rudyard Kipling's masterpiece If comes to mind. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. That is to say, don't fall into the narcissistic trap of taking credit for success and blaming failure on others. This is indeed a deadly trap and will seriously impair the learner's progression. Jocko Willink's books Extreme Ownership and Dichotomy of Leadership explore ideas around this and are highly recommended. Another succinct quote eloquently expresses this. A good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less than his share of the credit. Arnold H. Glasgow. Perseverance is another key ingredient in moving past failure and overcoming fear of future failure. Those equipped with perseverance will have an enhanced progression from data to wisdom. The emotional intelligence of the leader working with people in encountering failure is also critical. Failure needs to be something viewed as an opportunity for improvement and learning. Ideally, there is a high enough level of involvement that high-impact failures are anticipated and corrective actions taken to mitigate or eliminate the failure while still being able to see the potential failure. Systems and processes must be in place in critical industries such as infrastructure engineering so that failures occur on paper and are caught before being allowed to manifest in the real world. In essence, this allows for controlled and supervised failure that can still be learned from. To make the jump from knowledge to wisdom and enlightenment, another ingredient is needed: rest and reflection and think time. There are numerous anecdotes of senior leaders that spend some time every day in prayer, reading, meditation, etc. These activities allow for the experiences and knowledge gained to be put into appropriate context and for the mind to wander, gaining the understanding of why certain things were done in the past that were successful. This then can prepare the leader to be able to see when that context repeats or is similar, and the leader can recognize the analogous scenario and why specific actions may succeed or fail, or how to modify the actions to increase chances of success. Another important aspect of this think time is gratitude, the sincere feeling of gratitude for what has happened, and not only the good things. The Stoics have a saying, amor fati, love your fate. Things have happened as they ought. Embrace it, learn from it, be grateful for it, and do the best you can. Quote, accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. End quote. Marcus Aurelius. There is disagreement in literature about the definition of wisdom. From the perspective of this work on leadership and the development of competency, wisdom is largely about decision-making based on incomplete information. Leaders will often be confronted with situations in which limited information is available and a decision must be made. And make no mistake, inaction is a decision. Paralysis by analysis is not a good option, and Willink makes a very strong case for escaping this trap through incremental decision-making. Decisions are almost always made based on incomplete information, and thus good decision-making is grounded in wisdom. The figure below illustrates the above. Figure 11. Competency building cycle. A big idea is built into the above diagram, that of decentralized command. If an organization has developed a cadre of competent and trusted people, then decentralized command becomes possible and will be part of a virtuous cycle in the creation of increasingly competent people capable of enhanced delegation and independent decision-making. Autonomy. Part of the function of enlightened leadership is to build a pipeline of people that can take over and build a better tomorrow for those who come after. 8.2.1 Social Styles. The social styles model characterizing communication behavior into four distinct styles: analytical, driving, expressive, and amiable, was developed by psychologists David Merrill and Roger Reed in the 1960s. Two dimensions are used to map these styles: assertiveness and responsiveness. Assertiveness means willingness to exert your will over others, while responsiveness means how much you respond to the feelings and emotions of others. These are not mutually exclusive characteristics. Four social styles result. Analytical style: low assertive, low responsive. Characteristics: analytical individuals prioritize accuracy, facts, and details. They make decisions based on data and principles, often relying on historical information. Strengths: excellent problem solvers who pay attention to nuances. Weaknesses: may be slow to change and overly cautious. Communication style: precise and methodical. Leadership situations: information-driven decision-making. Analytical leaders excel in situations where accuracy, data, and evidence matter. They carefully analyze data, generating information before making choices. Process improvement: their systematic approach helps optimize processes and identify efficiencies. Driver style: high assertive, low responsive. Characteristics: drivers are action-oriented, results-driven, and quick decision-makers. They thrive on achieving goals. Strengths: efficient and deadline-driven. Weaknesses: may overlook details and become impatient. Communication style: direct and brief. Leadership situations: task-oriented leadership. Driving leaders excel in situations that require quick decision-making, assertiveness, and a focus on achieving objectives. They drive teams towards results and take charge. Crisis management: their ability to make swift decisions and take control is valuable in high-pressure situations. Expressive style: high assertive, high responsive. Characteristics: expressive personalities are social, charismatic, and emotive. They focus on the bigger picture and enjoy motivating others. Strengths: excellent communicators and visionaries. Weaknesses: can be impulsive and disorganized. Communication style: animated and engaging. Leadership situations: inspirational leadership. Expressive leaders thrive in motivating and inspiring others. They create excitement, share visions, and rally teams around common goals. Creativity and innovation: their passion for ideas and excitement encourages innovative thinking. Amiable style: low assertive, high responsive. Characteristics: amiable individuals prioritize relationships, collaboration, and team dynamics. They avoid confrontation and value building connections. Strengths: great team players and empathetic listeners. Weaknesses: may avoid assertiveness and prioritize harmony over results. Communication style: approachable and relationship focused. Leadership situations: team building and collaboration. Amiable leaders prioritize relationships and create harmonious work environments. They excel at building trust and fostering collaboration. Conflict resolution: their friendly demeanor helps in resolving conflicts and maintaining positive interactions. Natural conflict exists between people who are dominant in styles that are diagonal from each other: amiables and drivers, expressives and analyticals. To some degree, conflict is also likely within the same style, most visibly with drivers. 8.2.2 Transactional Analysis and the Three Hungers. A crude distillation of a part of Burns' work in transactional analysis is three hungers that people may have: recognition, stimulation, and structure. People may be more driven by one hunger than another generally, and specifically at one time or another, and one setting or another. Discussed above was a need for high performers to have autonomy, which is distinct from the three hungers and is addressed in transactional analysis by the ego state. Transactional analysis indicates that there are three ego states: child, where you behave in an emotionally immature and highly reactive way, autopilot; parent, values, behaviors, and attitudes learned from parents or parental figures, still on autopilot; adult, rational thinking, objective analysis, and decision making. Autonomy is most associated with the adult ego state. If we treat people like adults, they will tend to act like adults, acting with autonomy. It is often useful when framing ideas to evaluate their opposite. In this case, we get the following opposite relationship: recognition versus obscurity, stimulation versus boredom and repetition, structure versus chaos. As much as we can motivate people, it is even easier to demotivate people. Where someone might be highly motivated by structure, when that person is in a chaotic environment, it may be highly demotivating. Someone who is motivated by stimulation would be highly demotivated if assigned highly repetitive tasks for too long. 8.3. Capacity development. Capacity development happens in parallel with development of competency. Rest and reflection are needed for capacity to be present. Capacity is not a static characteristic during one's life, though, and it can be increased, and as we age will inevitably decline. Overall work capacity increase can be achieved in a number of ways. However, it bears first examining prerequisites that need to be in place for there to be capacity. 1. Good physical health. 2. Rest, time off. Good physical health is generally not an accident, especially the older you get. Recalling the earlier discussion on engagement and alignment, an integrated person's health is not determined only by the physical things they do. There is a resonance that happens between the following levels of being: spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. In order to have sustained good physical health, it is necessary to be spiritually, emotionally, and mentally healthy. The previous chapter discussed the importance of humility and emotional intelligence in building competency, and these characteristics are also important in building a team and an environment that will promote mental and emotional health, or at least not detract from them. This is adequately addressed in the previous chapter and will not be rehashed here, other than to now emphasize importance. Being surrounded by selfish jerks is bad for your health and also decreases capacity. If the basic prerequisites are in place, we can now seek to increase capacity. The primary means of doing this is very similar to how an athlete will increase their capacity: increasing the weight or doing more repetitions, running longer distances, doing sprint training. Through a managed combination of exertion and rest, capacity can be increased over time. Athletes lose capacity through rest alone. Even the maintaining of capacity requires maintaining a consistent level of exertion. Use it or lose it.